Give us something new, Jordan. Something new.
Some techno.
Yeah. All right, so back to the Mustang install. We showed once again that this car is clean. We did the 70% isopropyl alcohol. We did the surface prep. It is clean. We went ahead and took the time and figured out the center point. Now there's tons of different ways. Everyone has their own version of how to find center, whether you're picking high points, finding center that way. There's some guys that will lay tape across, do a rubbing, fold the tape over, find center that way. However you can, but triple check the center point. When dealing with a cut to fit kit, finding that center point means everything in all of the lineup pieces from here on out. So Ron's going to go ahead and get started on this thing. He's going to get lined up. Now, we had some guys asking what the tick marks were that I was talking about. This just helps you find center. So when that's laying down and you have a center line in your tape, it helps you line that up and guide and direct it a little bit easier. Now, this is a wet install kit. This is just regular 3M red material. So if you see this, it sure looks black, but it's not, it's red. This is what it is, 3M red. So if you're a customer and you see this and you said, well, I ordered a red kit and it looks black, this is what it's going to look like. Now, what he's doing here is he's just setting up guidelines on both sides. That way, when he is doing his install, he makes sure that it stays correctly in center and knows not to go outside of those lines. Now, this is also, once again, a cut-to-fit kit. When the guys were building and designing this, they realized that there was a little bit of an issue as it came down the front. Well, figured out if we made a slit in the center, it allows the install to happen a little bit easier. Allows you to move the material the way you need to, unlike having to mess with just a pre-cut kit where it's straight stripes and trying to figure out your bends and curves. Now, if you notice, when he's pulling this back, he's keeping it straight and going right, the liner back against the material. He's not picking it straight up and going across. The other thing is, do not get that paper wet. If he had that paper wet, if you get the back side of this liner wet, it will stick to the adhesive side of that material. And then you have a failed kit right off the bat. Now, what he's using here is installation gel. This will give him a little bit of extra time for doing adhesion. It's actually paint protection gel. It's got a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in it, and we found that it's perfect for the installs. A lot of guys will use the dishwashing soap with a little bit of water and call that good. This is just the way that we've always done it with the when we do a wet install. Now, doing a rally though, I would always prefer that you would go with a dry install kit. You have a little bit longer longevity of film and the material is a little bit easier. This used to always be the old school way of doing it. And now with wrap material, it's kind of just taken over. So all right, now you can see where those guidelines came in on both sides. He's able to keep it lined up correctly. point of wetting the top of the surface is make sure that your squeegee will actually glide across it a little bit easier. Now, this is the huge part here. This is when he is squeegeeing, you're seeing that he's doing overlapping strokes. Many people, they're not doing firm overlapping strokes, and then what happens is you end up with a lot of excess moisture underneath there, and it's not creating a good bond. You're not getting the actual adhesive to adhere to the car. Time out. All right, key point right here is where this cut stops. Okay, when you make it to this spot, it's very imperative that you get this closed back up to your center point. So you do need to lift this back up, which he's going to show you here in just a second, before you start squeegeeing it down. Because if that is not lined up, you're going to have your issues, and it's going to make it a very difficult time to pop this thing back up and reinstall. And while you're looking right here, if you notice, we've actually made the curve for when it bends around that front bumper, it looks straight. Now, the thing he's of course doing here, anytime, always go back over, re-squeegee again, just to make sure you're not missing any areas or anything like that. This area will take a while to dry out, and he'll show you a technique really quick on how to start doing that. But time is key when you're dealing with a wet install. All right, so main thing he's going to do here is take his towel and his finger, run it across the bottom, just trying to soak up any of that extra gel. He's not actually taking the towel against the adhesive, it's against the car. This is another thing with the wet install, like I keep mentioning, is the time factor. Dry install, you don't have to worry about waiting for things to dry up enough to start rounding the corners and everything else. So this is an area you cannot be in a rush in to get done. Getting in here, there's little fingers that keep popping up, which is just moisture is trying to travel back up. So where he's taking that towel in there, what he's doing is he's pushing down and then grabbing a hold of that moisture on the back side of it. So he's not actually wrinkling the material. Now, that is an issue that you need to watch out for, is how you're squeegeeing this, is make sure you don't wrinkle the film. Once you start creasing that film, especially with this older material, like the regular 2 mil, it's not as forgiving as the new wrap material. So now he's got to roll the edge on this, but first what he's going to do is take the tape guideline, the center point out. Like he was pointing out, he has trapped some moisture in there, so make sure that you're getting your squeegee just like that across that edge to make sure that you're getting any moisture out from underneath there. And the reason we decided to make sure our kits roll down the back sides is due to customers. Customers like the look of the edges being rolled versus them being cut short. Now, however, if you were an installer, you know what you're doing, you could take a knife and trim off the excess of that to where you would not have to roll it, but that is between you and your customer. So the front is not completely wrapped over and dried yet, but that is okay. You can start taking the material back on it, and then you're allowed to use your thumb, continue to work down the material, But as you can see, this is a red kit. So there's a perfect example of what it looks like with the blue mask on versus the red material underneath. Alright, while some of that's still drying, going back, making sure that you don't have any spots left up. He is going to have to come back and he will have to trim this front nose area, so make sure you don't accidentally pop the hood when this is still on. The reason that we do not cut this is simply it's easier to line that up while it's all together. So you will make one cut there, but any spot we ever have where there is a cut, it's always separated by a body line, so therefore you're not still yet cutting on the actual paint. If you ever have a business tell you to use Windex for your wet install, do not deal with that business. This is horrific to vinyl. Okay, the ammonia in it and everything else will kill the adhesive. It will not stick. So never use Windex or anything that has ammonia in it, because it will fight against the adhesive. So, tip of the day, no to Windex. Make sure you're using something safe and what we tell you to use, basically, because we're telling you the truth. So, there's your tip of the day. Alright, so with this, as you see, this has got a rubber gasket in it, so you definitely have to be careful when you're cutting across. So as long as you're taking the blade across the actual car side, you're good, but the knife is not touching the paint. Now, your next move would be is pop the hood, tuck these in behind the rubber gasket, roll this under the hood, and you're done. We'll show more of this later on with a dry install. Honestly, the dry install is the way to go. If you guys want to save a lot of time, a lot of hassle, go with a dry install. Outstanding. We're going to show that next, show you guys the difference. Some people have asked us, all right, then why do you have a wet install kit? If the longevity of the film is not great on a horizontal surface, why do you guys carry this? Well, that's due to customers. That's due to, we have a lot of old school guys that don't want to convert to the dry install. There's a lot of colors that are available in the regular 2mm cast material. That's one of those that we did it more per customer. We do not highly suggest that you're always using 2mm on the hood. We'd rather you guys be using wrap material, but it all comes back to the customer being satisfied. So make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves when you're talking to your customer. This is a time to talk about the differences of material, and if you're a retail person, this is the time to talk to your installer about what film he is comfortable in installing. There's your differences between the two.